They want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need...
Welcome to Doug in Exile. As Congress, as stated by The Hill, is going to try to pull an insurrection against Trump. That's right. We called it the Democrats would do this to him. We knew they were going to do this to him. And now it looks like they're putting out the word through The Hill, one of their Democrat operative arms. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. We've been covering Jack Smith's shenanigans against Donald Trump. And now we have the Democrats with, we're going to open up. First off, just to put context on this thing, here's Jamie Raskin admitting to what they're going to try to do when Trump tries to get seated into power. They're going to try and kick him out, calling him an insurrectionist and disqualifying him.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
Now that's Democrat Jamie Raskin, not a right-wing lunatic, not a QAnon saying that someone shouldn't be seated or someone didn't win the actual election. Mainstream Democrat Jamie Raskin, we all know him. And the media for the last 4 years tried to convince you that right-wingers, those of us on the right, that we were insurrectionists. Now, they're pulling the same thing on Trump. Now, obviously, I don't agree when either side tries to do this. I'm only saying by them trying to do this, they're proving that they were never outraged at Trump's attempt, that they never had a problem with it. Neither did the media, neither did the people handing out strikes right and left, because they will not hand out strikes to any Democrat that proposes this, like The Hill. Is Google downplaying Hill in the search results, right? The Hill right now for proposing this, pushing this insurrection? Of course not. Here's the headline from The Hill. Congress has the power to block Trump from taking office, but lawmakers must act now. They're pushing you. The Hill. They're saying pushing you. You have to act now if you're going to block Trump from taking office. This is an outrage, guys. The Constitution provides that an oath-breaking insurrectionist is ineligible to be president. This is the plain wording of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. That's what what's-his-face, Raskin, is talking about. No person shall hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or combat to the enemies thereof. This disability can be removed by a 2/3 vote in the House. Now, that is, that kind of law is made to protect soldiers who fought on the wrong side of the Civil War. That, they were going for an actual cessation from the United States, and they said, you can't hold office if you're going to be a insurrectionist like that. That's where this, this is an ancient law. It does not apply to these times. Disqualification is based on insurrection against the Constitution and not the government. The evidence of Donald Trump's engaging in such insurrection is overwhelming, allegedly. The matter has been decided in 3 separate forums, 2 of which were fully contested with the active participation of Trump's counsel. This is about all the insurrection lawsuits, the J6 committee. The first fully contested proceeding was Trump's second impeachment trial, which again, that was a sham impeachment. So I'm not even going to count that as evidence. We're going to skip down. Excuse me. The second contested proceeding was the Colorado 5-day judicial due process hearing, where the court found by clear and convincing evidence that President Trump engaged in insurrection, as those terms are used in Section 3. That was when Colorado tried to remove Trump's name from the ballot. It was laughed out of office and overturned, just like the Hill attempting a coup against the will of the voters should be laughed out of our lives. Finally, there's the bipartisan inquiry. Again, the House Select Committee. Again, they're calling bipartisan. You know, the Republicans that were on that thing, they're calling Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger Republican, representing Trump's side. They were there only to find Trump guilty. They would not allow anyone on that J6 committee who agreed with Trump or would fight for him. And plenty of Republicans gave their name, including Tim Burchett. We saw that in an earlier video. Guys that said, look, I'd like to look at the evidence, but I'm not immediately trying to impeach Trump. So they wouldn't allow him on the J6 committee. That is, they screened it for ideology, not for neutralness or bipartisanship. So if you're a Republican in name only, or if you're anti-Trump, a never-Trumper, then he's not going to get a fair shake from that J6 committee. So I don't believe they're allowed to count that. Some will argue, let's get down here, that the Supreme Court decision in the Colorado case, Trump versus Anderson, precludes Congress from rejecting electoral votes when they've convened on January 6th on the basis of the 14th Amendment disqualification. This view lacks merit for 3 reasons. Now, I'm not going to get into much on those 3 reasons. They're basically what they're trying to say is this is going to be an end run, because the way constitutional law works is simply if you go against the Constitution, that is, if you are an insurrectionist in the way during the Civil War that you had a bunch of generals and people fighting to secede from America, then you cannot hold elected office if you're that kind of an insurrectionist. That's a huge stretch, but they're only saying it doesn't have to come up to a vote. It's not someone's decision. If you break the Constitution, you are disqualified. And they say we'll get to these facts later, but it's no different than being younger than 35 years old and trying to run for president. They don't put that up for a vote. It's like you're either over 35 or you're not. So they're saying this is like Trump committed insurrection, though he was never tried or found guilty of that. So now they're just going to project that onto everyone. So here's how it works. To make an objection under the Count Act requires a petition signed by 20% of the members of each House, House of Representatives and the Senate. If the objection is sustained by a majority vote in each House, they have to get 51% or whatever it is by one vote, which it would not happen. Every Democrat might vote for it, but they don't have enough Republican votes. I would hope the vote is not counted, and the number of votes required to be elected is reduced by the number of disqualified votes. If all votes for Trump were not counted, Kamala Harris would be elected president. So this is a cockamamie theory, but it's no different. It's in the same kind of abstract, let's try this, right, that John Eastman came up with for Trump back in 2020. John Eastman came up with this radical idea saying the vice president, Mike Pence, can choose a different set of electors in states that have contested results. And I defended him saying, you have a right to ask these questions. Every Democrat has a right to ask these questions, to say, does our Constitution say this? Are we going to try this? Should we do this? Let's run this up the flagpole. I don't believe you should go after those Democrats, call them insurrectionists, and threaten them and throw them in prison like we do with Bannon and Navarro. The Democrats did that. So because the Democrats did that to Bannon and Navarro and impeached Trump, because they did that to them and because they performed a lawsuit against Trump, in Fulton County, Georgia, calling him an insurrectionist, saying he tried to overturn election results. We have to be able to do it back to Democrats. They established the standard. So now, Jamie Raskin, you got to go to jail. Jack Smith, you got to go to jail. On these grounds, if you try to go with an alternate set of electors, if you question these election results, and that includes any YouTuber who does so, you should have strikes, just like strikes were applied to me, because that's what's fair. You do it to us now, you must face the same court system undermining your candidates. If a candidate comes out and agrees that Trump should never have been seated because he's an insurrectionist, you also should be disqualified from being elected. We should be allowed to launch 5 lawsuits against you, call you a felon. See how this works? I don't believe in the standards. I think it was wrong when the Democrats did it against Trump in an absolute sense. But in practice, they tell you how the law shall be practiced, and they performed all this stuff against Trump. So now in practice, we need to do it against the Democrats. That's not an act of revenge. That's justice. That's using the same techniques they use against our guy, against them. Final paragraph, the unlikelihood of congressional Republicans doing anything that might elect Harris as president is obvious, but the Democrats need to take a stand against the Electoral College votes for a person disqualified by the Constitution from holding office unless and until this disability is removed. No less is required by their oath to support and defend the Constitution. That's the Hill trying to perform a coup against Trump, overturn election results by their own standards. What do you guys think? Will the Democrats try this? Will Jamie Raskin pull this off in 2025? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Doug in Exile.